When I talk about the experience of not having a body, I often marvel at one of the responses I get to describing it, to talking about it. It's not the tell me more, describe more kind of response. It's the, oh, I know what you're talking about. I've had that. And then the person proceeds to describe something that is not the un. It's not the experience of not having a body. It will be, and I'll explain, not in this video, but to the person as I speak to them sometimes, what the difference is, what they're describing and what my experience is. By the way, the idea of using the word experience to describe the un is from a human physical perspective, because the un doesn't have a body. That's the whole thing. It's like, I don't have a body. So there is nothing. It is nothing. And it might sound like awful. It isn't, because it's nothing. There's no assumptions or judgments or fear or any of the human sort of things that we relate. That's like trying to put a human experience on an inanimate object, which some people do, like the stone is sad or the house is lonely. It's like, no. And I mean, I am an expressive arts psychotherapist, and we use projections in that way, and it can be very, very exciting, and it can lead to a lot of really wonderful things. And the fact of the matter is, the house is not sad. So the un is nothing. What I find interesting, and I relate to my own human experience, is having heard that kind of, or any kind of description from someone where the response is, oh, I've had that, or I'm like that, or anything like that, is very often, it is a wanting to be somebody. So as opposed to just being, just the stillness, there's no value scale on being. There isn't like good being and bad being. You're not a worthwhile person or a worthless person the more you're able to be or not be. I mean, you might think that way. Other people might think that way, but there actually is, that doesn't exist. So this idea of, I've said something that might seem important or big or might trigger this sort of value scale thing where it's, I'm not good enough, and so I want to be somebody. And the implication is somebody else. Of course, there is nobody else. There's nobody. There's nothing. And that's not always the experience we have as human beings. So I notice this shows up sometimes when I talk about the un and my experience of the un, where a person's response will be wanting to be that whatever it is, the cool thing, the important thing, the valuable thing, as opposed to the worthless, not good enough thing. And none of that is real. It's all based on an idea that you are something, that you have this identity that's you, and it can certainly feel that way. However, and I'm not going to get into it really deeply in this particular video, I'll come back to it. But an identity or an idea or an experience of us as a thing, an identity, is a conglomeration of circumstances and experiences. And that's all it is. It's circumstances. It isn't actually who you are. And I just sort of, admittedly, I have used this language a lot, this who you really are and true self and all of that, as a kind of my way of speaking. My description was so different than other people's descriptions, and I understood how people in general related to the idea of who you really are, or your true self, or your real self, or whatever you want to call it, that I genuinely thought it made it easier for you when I used those terms, when other people used those terms. And it never quite fit, because the or the un-you is the absence of all of that that has you believing or experiencing that you are a you. There is nothing. And it changes everything.